button, turn the red light on. It's good to go. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our September 27th regular council meeting of the City of Belleville. For those of you who are watching on the city streaming service or on the YouTube channel or on your TV, I would point out that our agenda and all reports are on the city website under www.belleville.ca. You can go through the agenda, minutes, and live meeting video icon on the left side of the screen. And then if you, after going there, if you click on the September 27th on the calendar, it'll bring you to the agenda for today's meeting. There is a hyperlink inside the agenda in the event that you wish to look at the reports that we're discussing, and you can follow along. I'll now call the meeting to order and state that all members of council are present, and I'll ask the Director of Corporate Services, Mr. Matt McDonald, to lead us in a moment of reflection.
May we be worthy custodians of all that has been entrusted to us. Help us to be concerned only for what will promote good government. May we bring to our council chamber minds that think and hearts that feel, always having respect for others so that we serve the people of our city in a helpful manner and for the good of all.
Thank you. You may be seated. All right, on the agenda, we'll move to item number 3, which is disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Colleagues, anybody have anything they'd like to disclose? Seeing none, we'll move. There are no public meetings today, so we'll move to number 5, reading and confirmation of the minutes of the regular council meeting of September 13th, 2021, the regular in-camera meeting minutes of September 13th, 2021. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll move to deputations, and I'll ask Ms. Janet Jarrell, who is the Executive Director of the Quinty Arts Council, to come forward and make a presentation to council. Good afternoon, Ms. Jarrell.
Thank you. Well, to begin with, there's a few new faces at the table since my last deputation, so welcome. I just wanted to introduce myself, Janet Jarrell, the Executive Director for the Quinty Arts Council, and thank City Council for rescheduling my last deputation. I was to be here on August 9th. Our family welcomed a new granddaughter that morning at 8:05, and she's healthy and doing well, so thank you. I'd like to begin by commending City Council for the support of the arts in Belleville. Over the past few years, the community is seeing stronger support for arts and culture, and this council deserves credit for implementing a strong arts agenda. I'm here today to talk to you about the role of arts in this thriving community and what the role of the QAC plays in that. The indicators of a healthy community, the kind of place that is likely to attract visitors and a place where people will move to, want to work, want to stay, it's good evidence of creative expression. The arts are critical to healthy communities. We like being around art, music in the community. Porch Fest, for example. I hope some of you got out to Porch Fest this weekend. Visual arts, cultural activities, live music, live theater, the Empire Theater, Dock Fest, they all make our community a destination. Arts are driven and they revitalize environments. By helping revitalize older, distressed neighborhoods, for example, our downtown core, we're seeing that in action in downtown. And I need to commend the Downtown District Belleville BIA. The tete-a-tetes, the parklets, the murals all make downtown a place that we want to visit. It's beautiful. All summer long, the parklets were full. This in turn creates a stronger Belleville that is better positioned to absorb the population increase and economic growth that might otherwise be diverted. I want to thank the City of Belleville and acknowledge Alicia Purchase. The murals down at the pop-ups by the bay. I mean, pop-ups, it's a fantastic attraction for the summer. And it was busy all summer long, and it was just made more beautiful by local artists. Alicia curated that very well. She was at arm's length creating a committee to vet those applications, and all of the artists were properly compensated for their work. So I need to thank the City of Belleville again. It's projects like these, collectively, that can suggest a community's cultural vitality. They attract more visitors. A healthy place to live includes opportunities for artists and presence of arts and culture and creative expression. They are important determinants of how communities are going to fare. So the Quinty Arts Council has been the community leader in advancing, cultivating, promoting, and advocating for a vibrant and diverse arts community, while supporting new generation artists, that's a focus, and offering quality experiences of arts education. So we actually have an arts education program, bringing local artists into the classrooms, currently virtual, supporting the arts curriculum for our children. We adjudicate the applications. We also support 6 graduating students as they pursue arts in the post-secondary. We also adjudicate those applications. In 2020, when things shut down, the QAC hosted Kickstart Arts from Toronto in 6 different virtual workshops to give local artists the skills to teach online. Not surprisingly, our artists responded with energy and creativity. Ideas and collaborations have significantly increased, and artists are teaching virtually in our schools. Of course, there is also the Umbrella magazine. It's a beautiful celebration of local arts and culture, and it is distributed throughout Ontario. So the ask today for Council is to consider increasing the Arts and Culture Fund in the next budget. Currently, the fund is at $1 per capita approximately, 50,000 population. Doubling the fund will bring it to $2 per capita, which is close to half of the $4 per capita that neighboring municipalities are funding the arts, for example, Kingston. Further, the QAC has the infrastructure and experience to adjudicate the Arts and Culture Fund. So what will the city gain by increasing this commitment? We will gain, collectively, opportunity to have these funds matched by new federal and provincial funding. We will gain the benefits of innovation and inspiration that artists bring to Belleville. Our art community creates its own jobs, and they create opportunities for many others. So we encourage you to make a commitment to increase the funding by $50,000 in the next budget, and consider the benefits of including the QAC in administrating those funds. Thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Jarrell, and thank you for, this has been a difficult time for all of us. But one of the things I often point out is that it's also caused us to realize what we miss. And, you know, arts and culture and heritage and live music and all those things, it's wonderful to start to be able to see them again. And so your organization is so important in creating that grassroots culture. So thank you very much for all of that and for coming and making the presentation. Colleagues, anybody have any questions or comments they'd like to make? Councillor Feeney, go ahead.
Am I on? With great pleasure, absolute great pleasure. Thank you very much for your presentation today, Janet. It's so good to see you. As you know, having been the executive director for 15 years, I'm not excited about this at all. And I really think that what Janet said, arts, culture, and heritage is very important to this community. And if we can squeeze some more money out of the budget, let's do it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Feeney. Councillor Kelly.
Through you, Mayor, I just want to congratulate you, Janet, and the team at the Quinty Arts Council. You referenced a few local events. You just had the Porch Fest, and you think of the Empire Theatre and the arts community, the artists, the musicians. Really enhances our quality of life and our experience in Belleville. And the arts, we'd be lost without them. And I think, as the Mayor touched on just a few moments ago, that over the past 18, 20 months, we've really missed that. And now with that opportunity to get out and see live events unfold like we were used to, it's really nice, and it's continued success. And I will certainly speak to every councillor directly for that extra 50 Gs and make it work. All right?
Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Okay. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your presentation. And operating budget, which I believe this falls under, will be in the springtime.
Okay,
and you have some time to continue to convince us.
Okay. If I could just make one more point, I wanted to mention the Quinty Arts Council hosted grant writing workshops specifically for the Belleville Arts and Culture Fund. And we had close to 50 local artists and art organizations attend that workshop. And we're happy to do that again. We know that the interest is there, and those funds will be well used. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gerald. Resolution that the deputation by Janet Gerald, Executive Director, Quinty Arts Council, presenting their 2020 annual report and advising of upcoming arts in the city be received. Moved by Councillor Feeney, seconded by Councillor Alsap. All in favor? It's carried. We'll now move to item 6.2, and Lisa Masherin, from the Family Service Supervisor of Highland Shores Children Aid Society, will come forward and make a presentation to Council. Good afternoon, Ms. Masherin.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Lisa Masherin. I'm a Family Services Supervisor at Highland Shores Children's Aid. Oh, what is showing? I would like to thank you for providing me this opportunity to talk about this important issue. On Dress Purple Day, we celebrate the community that cares for families and share the message that help is available and no one is alone. We raise awareness at children's aid societies and community organizations that are part of the circle of care that supports the well-being of children, youth, and families. This is an important opportunity to remind Ontarians that children's aid societies work together with many other social service agencies, and we help children, youth, and families facing challenges. Children's aid societies collaborate with key partners to speak up for every child and youth's right to safety and well-being in all spaces and to celebrate the community that cares for children. Dress Purple Day is an opportunity for children's aid societies to build partnerships with local cross-sector providers and commit to strengthening families through enhanced community-based prevention and early intervention. This aligns with a key pillar of Ontario's government's child welfare redesign, and is focused on strengthening partnerships and prevention and early intervention. This day offers an opportunity to raise awareness among children and youth, including elementary and high school students, about their right to safety and well-being in all spaces. Dress Purple Day offers an opportunity to remind adults about the important role they play in supporting vulnerable children, youth, and families. This includes every adult's legal duty to call their local children's aid society if they have a concern about the safety or well-being of a child or youth. There are many reasons that families become involved with Highland Shores Children's Aid. They can range from separation from a parent or caregiver, caregiver capacity, physical or sexual harm by commission, harm by omission, emotional harm, and the graph just shows you. The years don't really change very much. Kind of the reasons we remain involved stay consistent. Ontario's leading academic study on child abuse and neglect shows that children remained at home 97% of the time after an investigation was completed. This is not the case, though, for Indigenous and Black children who are overrepresented in the child welfare system due to systemic racism. The overrepresentation of Indigenous children and youth is due to the historical injustices perpetrated against First Nation, Inuit, and Métis communities by the Canadian government and provincial child welfare systems. These injustices include residential schools and the 60s scoops. These colonial legacies have resulted in community impairment, intergenerational trauma, and the overrepresentation of Indigenous children in child welfare. Who is reporting? We do have most of our reports come in from law enforcement, parents, educational personnel, different community agencies, and medical personnel, mental health, everyone in our community, really. Children Aid Societies investigate referrals from professionals and the public concerned about a caregiver's treatment of child or youth. These concerns include that of a child or youth that is experiencing physical, sexual, or emotional abuse, and or that a child or youth is being neglected. CASs work with children and youth where neglect is a key factor. Their families may be struggling with chronic challenges such as mental health issues, addictions, domestic violence, or extreme financial stress, and including lack of basic needs such as shelter and food. Child welfare research and data indicate that unemployment, lack of housing, and food insecurity play an important role in family crises that lead to children's aid societies becoming involved. These findings show that effective prevention starts with ensuring that adequate economic and social supports are in place so that families can look after their own children. Dress Purple Day offers an opportunity to remind Ontarians that children's aid societies and Indigenous child welfare family well-being agencies are open and providing services, and if you have a concern about the safety or well-being of a child or youth or a family that is in need of support, you should really call your local Children's Aid or Indigenous Child Welfare Agency. Throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, Children's Aid Societies and Indigenous Child Family Wellbeing Agencies have played a critical role in supporting vulnerable children, youth, and families. Often, they've been the only one providing in-person care. Partnerships across the social services system have proven essential to ensuring that families continue to receive the supports they need to stay healthy and well. Dress Purple Day is an opportunity to showcase those partnerships and innovative approaches to service delivery and to recognize the important work of Children's Aid Societies. This is just a geographic breakdown as to where we are servicing the most, which would be Belleville. So what can you do? You can dress purple and reach out to a family or a friend in your community to tell them that you're here to help. You can learn more about what local resources are available to help families in your community. So there might be programming at a local library, crisis lines, mental health supports. Engage in conversations with your neighbors and your friends, community members about what supports they're available, and have conversations about the way that you can help. So you can help make a difference. And on October 27th, it is our new Dress Purple Day. There might be t-shirts available this year. That's sort of in the works at this moment, but we can provide purple ribbons and other purple gear. And if you're interested in receiving that, just let me know and I can drop a bunch off here. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Ms. Majorin. Council, any comments? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you very much for coming and giving us a little background on the purple ribbon. In the number last years, what has been the significant increase in the number of children coming to your aid? Like, has it been abuse or has it been mental health? Is there a significant increase in one particular category that these children are ending up with your care?
Most of the times that children that we're involved with isn't for necessarily direct physical abuse, what people kind of perceive as the reason for children's aids at times. It is due to lack of services often in the community, so mental health support, housing, different resources that lead people to be on the, like, what's the word? I'm losing my mind. But there's lots of reasons, and it typically is not just physical or sexual abuse, but it is community services that are needed.
Have you seen, my second question, have you seen an increase in the number of people coming to you for services in the last 3 or 4 years? It seems like there's an awful lot of mental health issues on our street, maybe that's with adults. I'm just wondering if there's an increase with your agency with children coming to you for help.
I would say that we've been steady in our numbers for the last few years and slowly declining in some areas, which is good. The number of children in care that we do have is always on a trend downwards, which is excellent. But I would say the numbers are remaining the same. We do get roughly, I don't know the number off by heart, but I know like 500 and something, investigations per se for the year thus far. A lot of those are families that we want to keep intact, but are in need of service. So there hasn't been a huge increase, but we're super.
And I'm very happy to hear that you're trying to keep the families intact. That's very important for the children, and you try to help them work through. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you very much, Lisa, for your presentation. Lisa, I know in the past there have been large pushes for foster parents, foster parenting through CIS. Is there still a crying need for foster families for children in care?
Yes, we definitely are in need of parents to foster children. Sometimes we like to call them alternative caregivers as well, because they'll never kind of take over that role of the parent, right? But we're definitely always in need of new interested individuals in the community. So again, if anyone is interested, you can contact our main phone line. I'll just repeat it out loud if that's okay. 613-962-9291, and just follow the directions, and they can be accepted into the stream of phone calls to hopefully get assessed and be underway in becoming more alternative caregivers.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, thank you for coming. These are always distressing numbers, and I think following up on Councillor Thompson's question about the increase, as we see our population continue to rise, we're going to see numbers rise. So thank you very much to you and all of the people that are working to help these children, our children. We really appreciate it. Also, next week we're going to have the Kids Can't Wait Radiothon, which we're excited, and I encourage everyone in the community to be generous for those programs.
Yes,
thank you very much.
October 6th. Thank you.
Thank you
All
very
right,
much for
take care.
attending today.
Thank you.
My colleagues, so the resolution is that the deputation by Lisa Masherin, Supervisor, Family Services Supervisor of Highland Shores Children's Aid Society regarding October as Dress Purple Month and raising awareness of the important role individuals and communities play in supporting vulnerable children, youth, and families be received. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Millette. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll move to correspondence, and item 7.1 is a letter from local optometrists. It is Council Information Item 8C1A, and the resolution is that the letter from local optometrists requesting Council call on the Ontario government to immediately enter into formal negotiations and address the chronic underfunding of eye care be referred to Council Information Item 8C1A. And just for the purpose of the public, that is going to go to the resolution section where there's a resolution Council will consider. It's moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor McCaw. Any questions or comments? Councillor Kelly?
Through you, Mayor. I just wanted to follow this up. I had a couple people speak to me in the last week, actually, in Belleville about this. And so looked up some more information. 98% of optometrists.
So, Councillor Kelly, it's coming back up.
Okay, we can talk to it there?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So what we're doing is by referring it to the resolutions, we'll have full discussion on that resolution, which supports it. So what we're doing right now is just referring it. So it's been moved and seconded. Anyone else? All in favor? It's carried. I have item 7.2, which is a letter from Dr. Brearley, and Dr. Brearley wrote to me that I am a retired physician in Belleville with an interest in local history. I have enclosed a document which details those soldiers who were from Thurlow Township and served during World War I and World War II, but are not listed on the local monuments. I would like Council to further evaluate this research and add the veteran's name to the Township Cenotaph. Dr. Beardley has submitted 30 potential soldiers to be added to the cenotaphs in Belleville, and I would like a resolution that this item be received and referred to staff to report back to Council after considering and researching the information. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Feeney. Any questions or discussion on it? And the reason why we've walked it on, colleagues, is because of the names of the 30 individuals. We'll just respect their privacy while that research is done, and at that point it'll be shared. So, okay, all in favor? It's carried. Thank you very much. Next is item 8, Committee of the Whole. A motion to go into Committee of the Whole to hear and consider reports, passing of recommendations and resolutions with myself in the chair. Moved by Councillor Feeney, seconded by Councillor Alsap. All in favor? It's carried. So we'll move to 8A, reports, and the agenda shall include under reports items that warrant individual attention from Council. We'll start with 8A1, the appointment of members to various city committees and boards. It is the Director of Corporate Services, Clerk's Report Number DCS 2021-40, and the resolution is that pursuant to the Director of Corporate Services, Clerk's Report Number DCS 2021-40, appointment of members to various city committees and boards, a bylaw to amend bylaw number 2019-02, the appointments bylaw be prepared for Council's consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Millette, seconded by Councillor Kelly. Questions and discussion? Councillor Millette. You're Committee of the Whole, so you can stay seated. Thank you.
Yes, Your Worship, thank you. Yeah, this appointment for anyone who is wondering is simply coming as a result of departures from the Green Task Force, and we were encountering some quorum issues, and we welcome Mr. Davis to the Green Task Force. Thank you.
Yeah, anyone else? All right, all in favor? It's carried. 8A2, appointment of city auditors. It is the Director of Finance Treasurer's Report number DF 2021-15, and the resolution is that the request for proposal submission from KPMG LLP for RFP Finance 2021-01P-33-21, audit services for years 2021 through 2025, be accepted in the amount of $431,300 plus $56,069 HST, for a total amount of $487,369, this being the most qualified proposal received, and that the Mayor and City Clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the Corporation of the City of Belleville, and that the City Clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Moved by Councillor Sandison, seconded by Councillor Alsap. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. 8A3, addition to the 2021 capital budget, CN Rail Mitchell Road. It is the General Manager of Transportation and Operations Services, report number GMTOS 2021-19. And the resolution is that the 2021 capital budget be amended to add Mitchell Road, CN Crossing pavement improvements in the amount of $257,100, funded by the Capital Levy Reserve in accordance with the Canadian Transportation Agency Order number 2012-AGR-351. Moved by Councillor Sandison, second by Councillor Carr. Any questions or discussion on this? Call the question. All in favor? It's carried. 8A4, new capital budget item, expansion of City View program to include planning services to support comprehensive and efficient review of development applications. It is the Director of Engineering and Development Services, report number DEDS 2021-05. And the resolution is that the 2021 capital budget be amended in the amount of $202,700 to add the expansion of City View program planning services, and that the project be funded $50,700 from the Building Code Act Reserve and $152,000 from the Capital Levy Reserve. May I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Alsap and Councillor Carr. Questions and discussion? Okay. Councillors Alsap and Carr, I've just been notified there's a requested amendment to it, an addition to that resolution. The addition would be a paragraph that says that in accordance with Section 30.3, sole and single sourcing, approval and reporting of the city's purchasing bylaw number 2021-99, the quotation from City View for the expansion of City View program planning services be accepted in the amount of $202,700, and that the Mayor and Clerk be authorized to sign the acceptance agreement on behalf of the Corporation of the City of Belleville, and the City Clerk be authorized to affix the corporate seal. Do you agree with that addition? I see both of you nodding, so thank you. So the motion is amended to include that section. Any questions or discussion on it? I'll call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. We'll now move to 8B, consent items, where Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and Council shall consider such items individually. So I'll go around the table and ask if anyone has anything they want to pull. Councillor McCaw.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sandison.
No, thank you.
Councillor Alsap.
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
8B5 and 8B7.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Councillor Feeney.
No, thank you.
Councillor Millette. No, thank you. Councillor Kelly.
No, thank you.
All right. So then the motion is that the following agenda items be approved with the exception of items 8B5 and 8B7. Moved by Councillor McCaw, seconded by Councillor Thompson. All in favor, it's carried. We'll move to 8B5, and it is amendment to the traffic bylaw number 12967, addition of bike lanes and a three-way stop at intersections on Avondale Road. It is the Senior Project Manager's Report number ENG 2021-25. And the resolution is that a bylaw to approve and authorize amendments to bylaw number 12967, being a bylaw to regulate traffic within the corporate limits of the Corporation of the City of Belleville, to remove on-street parking, designate bicycle lanes, and add three-way stop intersections as outlined in report number ENG 2021-25, be prepared for council's consideration. Moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Alsap. Councillor Thompson, you had raised the issue. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. Just one quick question. The three-way stop, was it considered before before Avondale Road was refinished? And the reason I'm asking that, was there any consideration to being traffic lights done before that road was done?
That's a good question. I think we'll have Director Ashton take the first crack at it.
Okay. So I think there was sort of an identified need for, well, originally there was an identified need or feedback, I guess, from residents for speed control. Even though three-way stops aren't sort of a recognized means for speed control, but they determined that the three-way stop would be good in terms of the interaction between the active transportation trails plus the traffic. And so the three-way stop was put forward as the preferred option.
So, before we built it, but was there any consideration at that time? I don't want to pry or just, was there any consideration of what we were going to do? And the reason is I chair the Transportation Committee, and we all know that stop signs are not the answer for calming, traffic calming. And my concern is it too late to look at proper signaling there? And I presume it is.
Yeah, so yeah, all things are considered in when the engineering department does a design, so that this is what they landed on, and yes, it would be too late for traffic lights at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else on this item? Okay, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. So we'll move to 8B7, update to community improvement plans facade programs. It is the principal planner's report number PP 2021-58, and the resolution is that council approve the recommendations made within report number PP 2021-58 to update programs 10, 11, and 12 of the City of Belleville's community improvement plan, and that the facade committee be dissolved, and that a bylaw amending appointments bylaw number 2019-02 be prepared for council's consideration. It's moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Feeney. Councillor Thompson, you raised this item as well. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, and it's good. I talked to Mr. Ashton about dissolving the committee if we weren't going to be active anymore, and that's good to see that. And I, looking through the mandate for the facade, for this facade program, is there any addition to, and what area does this cover for facade program, like Front Street, Pinnacle Street, Coleman Street? Can you give the public an idea where that really lays out?
Director Ashton.
Okay, well, mainly Front Street gets covered, and then some Pinnacle Street as well, I believe, but it's doesn't get expanded beyond. So when we initially did the CIP update, we didn't expand the current area. We decided to focus on the area that was already in place.
So, and then just another question on the fall application. So if we don't spend the money in the spring applications, that will go into fall applications and they'll have to reapply?
So the fall application, so we do sort of, so what's involved now is sort of we're sort of the initial application date, the start date, we can still process applications during the year, but that would be people that haven't used it for, accessed it for 5 years. So if someone accessed it say 3 years ago, then they can't apply until the fall. So if there's some money left over, they can accept. And as well, we added some additional rear facades or facades that can be seen from the side, like from the public viewpoint, in the fall sort of idea to sort of give the opportunity for improvement of other spaces that wouldn't be permitted through the year.
Okay, and so that's basically for facade. So if they were going to do apartments in the second and third floor, that would still fall under a facade program for facelifting on that particular building?
No, the apartments are kind of separate because they would be part of the affordable rental housing component of it. So that would go through there is no changes to that. This was the facade going through the process. We kind of just did some fine tuning to make it sort of more friendly to and to make it work better and quicker and more efficient.
Okay, I think it's a great program. I enjoyed chairing it. While I did, you know, there's a lot of buildings downtown. If you look over the last 5 years or even 10 years, the upgrades in that downtown buildings is just phenomenal, really. And every day you see somebody doing more improvements. And, you know, talking to people, you know, this city's getting a good reputation as, you know, improving our buildings and attracting people. So the facade program, I'm glad to see it staying, and it's glad that it's going under the staff. It stimulates one less hurdle for people. So thank you very much.
Thank you. No, you're right, Councillor Thompson. You know, what a successful program we've had with this, and you know, it's a great ability for us to put in some money. The property owner puts in more, and we see a beautification of particularly our part of town. But I want to come back to a question you asked, just to make it clear. So my understanding of the community improvement plan was to include housing, specifically rental, purpose-built rental housing, and we wound up, or we blended in all of the previous community improvement plan features, including the facade program. Are they not stackable, meaning that property owners can apply for a number of different assistance depending on what type of project it is? So this project deals with, or it traditionally has dealt with, the exterior of buildings in downtown Belleville. But if someone is taking an existing building and they're going to do exterior improvements, but they're also going to be able to make you know, rental housing inside with the correct number of units, would they not see a number of different incentives that they can access?
Yes.
Okay, so it's stackable, and I think, I wasn't sure, Councillor Thompson, if that was clear when you asked the question. So, you know, we could have somebody, you know, and if they're on a brownfields property, for example, they get another one as well. So we encourage people to deal with those issues. Thank you.
It's good that you cleared that up, because there's, you know, with the developers, they need to know that there's not just the one program downtown. There's others that can finance. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else questions on this item? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. So we'll now move to 8C, Council Information Matters, where Council may adopt consent items by one motion, but prior to consideration of such motion, members may request that specific items be removed from consideration under such motion, and Council shall consider such items individually. So I'll go the other way around, and I'll start with Councillor Kelly, and I can already tell that 8C1A is an item that he's requesting. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Councillor Millette.
No, thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Feeney.
No, thank you.
Councillor Carr.
No, thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Same one.
Okay. Councillor Alsop.
No, thank you.
Councillor Sanderson.
No, thank you.
Councillor McCaw.
No, thank you.
Okay. So that the agenda items be received, save, and accept 8C1. I need a motion for that, please. Councillor Alsop and Councillor Kelly, all in favor. It's carried. 8C1, request support of the following letters and resolutions. Request that the provincial government recognize the value that access to quality eye care brings to all Ontarians and act now to protect it, and further address OHIP-insured eye care immediately and enter into legally binding negotiations with Ontario optometrists to fund these services at least to the cost of delivery prior to any job action taking place. And that is the September 7th, 2021 resolution from the municipality of Trent Lakes. And I'll remind everybody that we referred that item under correspondence to this point. It's moved by Councillor Kelly, seconded by Councillor Alsop. Councillor Kelly, this is your item. Go ahead, sir. You can sit at the committee of the whole still.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, just for those watching and following along, we received our package on Thursday, and this was in it. and it talks about eye care. A few weeks ago, we had an individual speak to us, Ms. Woods, about dental care and some options there that people don't have always access to dental care. And with eye care, I read the report that the letter we received, and optometrists in the province are saying they've had a $5.50 increase over the last 30 years. They perform about 4 million services annually with OHIP. And it's interesting because on Friday I was speaking to a young mom in Belleville about this exact thing, and she has 2 children. One, she believes, is having some trouble seeing words and reading at school, and the teacher has pointed it out to the mom, and she's having a tough time getting an appointment for her daughter, and her son needs glasses for sports, and he's getting bigger, and there has to be a change in eyewear for the sports. So I looked into it. OHIP pays eye exams for those 19 and under in Ontario, and for those 65 and over with special conditions, the government will pay $45. The average cost for an eye exam is $80, and 15,000 people weekly are affected by this situation with optometrists. And cataracts, for those that possibly in Belleville are hoping to get cataract surgery done or their eyes looked at for referrals, 2,000 people in Ontario are being delayed with that process. And I think of the kids in school, sports, and they're having some struggles with their vision, so we need to get this done right away. So I'm going to support the letter that was sent to us by the other municipality here in Ontario. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Anyone else on this item? Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I'm going to support the letter too. And Councillor Kelly refers to the cataract. I just had mine done Friday, and if it had been another month, it could have got delayed for quite a while. So it's a concern. I think everybody should be entitled to get their eyes checked. It's an important part of your health. It's like going to a family doctor to get your monthly or semi-annually or 3-month checkup. There's a fee there. All of a sudden, our eyes become not important enough to get an eye appointment, and we have to pay for it. There's lots of people out there that had enough time putting groceries on the table, let alone having to pay for an eye appointment, and the government should be looking after these people. Eyes are important, ears are important, our health is important, and if we don't look after that, and for these optometrists to be getting, I think it's $30-some for an appointment, and other provinces are getting much larger. We got to get it back up to where it's supposed to be. These are trained people, gone to college and university to do what they do, and it's all important. So let's get behind this. Let's get the government handing up where they should be.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship, and I too am going to support it. I don't think in any other profession we would allow that kind of disparity to happen over that many years. And I also, the letter from 23 local optometrists to us in our own community have taken the time to write to us. Some people may decry what's happening right now as a job action by the optometrists. While it's regrettable, unfortunately, that they have withdrawn these services, I support them in that respect to bring attention to this matter. I noticed that today the Leader of the Opposition, Mrs. Andrea Horvath, has urged the Premier to get back to the bargaining table with these people. The longer we delay some of these exams for some of these people, as Councillor Thompson referred, there are people with macular degeneration issues, elderly people who every day counts in proper diagnosis and referral. So if anything will light a fire under the provincial government to get moving on this file, I'm in support of it.
Thank you. Anyone else? I will call the question. All in favor? It's carried. So now a motion to rise and report. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Feeney. All in favor? It's carried. So we'll move to item 9, which are bylaws, and we'll do first reading of bylaws, and if it's okay with everyone, I'll just read the numbers. 2021-163, 164, 165, 166, 167, and 168. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor McCaw and Councillor Carr, all in favor? It's carried. Second reading of bylaws number 2021-163, 164, 165, 166, 167, and 168. Moved by Councillor Feeney and Councillor Sandison. Any questions or discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor? It's carried. And then third and final reading of bylaws number 2021-163, 164, 165, 166, 167, and 168. Moved by Councillor Alsap, second by Councillor Thompson. All in favor? It's carried. New business. I'd like to take a moment to thank our residents and business owners for adhering to the regulations that continue to be in place during the Government of Ontario's reopening plan. City Hall continues to be open to the public from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. However, online, phone, and Dropbox services continue to be offered as an alternative to coming into City Hall, and the public is encouraged to continue utilizing those options whenever possible. As of September the 22nd, the City has introduced an identification and proof of COVID-19 vaccination policy for entrance to municipal buildings. Individuals 12 years of age and older wishing to enter into City buildings will be required to provide personal identification and proof of COVID-19 vaccination each time they seek entry into a City building. Those wishing to meet with engineering, planning, and building officials on the second floor are still advised to book an appointment, and anyone looking for marriage license and Commissioner of Oath services are encouraged to call the clerk's office to confirm you have all the required documentation. And I believe that those two services, Commissioner of Oaths and marriage licenses, are still restricted to Belleville residents only. The Belleville Public Library continues to be open to the public under the circumstances of the current Ontario government regulations. Traditional library services are exempt from vaccine passport requirements. Further information is available on the bellevillelibrary.ca website. The Quinty Sports and Wellness Centre continues to move forward with their staggered road to reopening plan. Beginning this month, the CAA Arena, Tumbleman Aquatic Centre, 50 Plus Centre, and room rentals have and will continue to reopen. Our Family Dental Centre indoor walking track is also now open. Pre-registration is required. And please note that as of September the 22nd, all persons entering the Quinty Sports and Wellness Centre are required to show proof of vaccination with some exceptions. We encourage the public to check with the Quinty Sports and Wellness website for all of the most up-to-date details. And I want to remind everyone that the provincial vaccine booking system remains open, and the vaccination centre located at the Quinty Sports and Wellness Centre continues to operate under the management of Public Health and our Quinty Sports and Wellness Centre team. The clinic is now located in the gymnasium to allow for as much regular recreational programming as possible. And I just want to say thank you to the Hastings and Prince Edward Public Health team and the city employees for creating a safe and accessible space for residents to receive COVID-19 vaccinations. As a council, we remain collectively and singularly focused on the safety and health of our residents in all of our decisions. We thank you for your cooperation and support of our efforts and encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible. Anyone else have any items for new business? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship. I rise under new business with a matter that could come as a notice of motion, but I'm under the bylaw, our procedural bylaw. Under new business, we can consider items that, in the opinion of the member, is of an urgent concern and within the jurisdiction of council or general interest. And under this motion, I'm asking to be considered at this point. I have a preamble and a motion here, if allowed.
Well, I don't know what motion you're talking about, and it's not, I'm not, you have...
It requires two-thirds
okay, so.
to be, yes. So in recent weeks, it was learned that without consultation or notice of the Cultural Exchange Committee and without general notice to council as a whole, a delegation had been formed. Some members of council had been invited, and outside invitees were asked on behalf of the city to take part in a friendship flight exchange to Lahr, Germany. This matter was
So
made...
Councillor Millet, can I just ask you, can you repeat that first sentence, please?
In recent weeks, it was learned that without consultation or notice to the Cultural Exchange Committee and without general notice to council
Okay, that's good, thank you.
as a whole, a delegation had been formed, some members of council had been invited, and outside invitees were asked on behalf of the city to take part in a friendship flight to Lahr, Germany. This matter was made known to council in the form of a press release issued Thursday, September 23rd, 2021. Being as this trip has been arranged without consultation with the Cultural Exchange Committee and had been, in fact, arranged and booked by the Office of the Mayor without knowledge or notification to most of council, save for those asked privately to take part in the exchange, I bring the following motion.
So before you bring a motion in, I'm going to ask Mr. McDonald to explain the process. When we had a discussion, Councillor Millet, and
Yes,
I suggested
you and I
that you
did.
look at the terms of reference for the Cultural Exchange Committee and speak with,
I have them
Director
here.
McDonald. Did you do so?
I did. I have the...
Okay, thank you. It's just, Director McDonald, do you want to add any comments? I'm not sure if you just want to talk about your conversation with Councillor Millet.
No,
when
I
you
did
called.
not have a conversation with the clerk.
Okay, so.
I have the terms of
So Councillor
reference.
Millet in particular has said that without notice or consultation, if you want to discuss our policies and our procedures, please.
Through the chair to all of council, I guess Councillor Mott as well. So the Cultural Exchange Committee in my time in the city.
So Director McDonald, before you just go, I know that people want to hear what you're saying. I just want to confirm that the audio is being picked up. Okay, because I don't hear you coming through the speaker, so if you want to just try to make sure that we're set up. If you want to go to the table, you can as well, so.
So through the chair to Councillor Millet and all of council, so in my time at the city, friendship flights and flights particularly to Lahr, Germany, have been organized through the mayor's office. The Cultural Exchange Committee, general terms of reference, flights in and trips on the incoming, and reference the student exchange. In my time here, the Cultural Exchange Committee has not yet organized an outgoing flight or trip to Lahr, Germany.
Yeah, and that's my point, because the terms of reference are rather vague on that front for
Absolutely.
the committee, and that's my point. I'm in no way saying that this trip, there's no valid reason for this. I'm looking at the process simply. So, am I incorrect?
So I think your
then in
motion
believing-
will be out of order then, because you're suggesting that a process not being followed, and Mr. McDonald just explained to you that it has been followed.
Okay, well, the motion, I haven't read the motion.
Well, you know,
It would be out of order if it was based on that preamble, is that the point
yes,
you're making?
yeah.
But the matter, okay. Well, may I challenge the ruling of the chair?
Well,
Pardon me? Yeah, how can I, the motion, yeah, if you haven't, I haven't put the motion on the floor to rule it out of order.
I can't hear you and Director
Okay,
McDonald at the same
sorry.
time. If you can just give me a
Yep.
second. So Councillor Millette, based on your preamble, it sounds to me like your motion will be out of order, but if you just want to read it, and then I can rule on it. And it sounds to me like it is more of something that requires a notice of motion, but go ahead and read the proposed motion.
Okay, well, the proposed motion is that on matters of a substantive nature and of importance to the citizens of Belleville, that timely and broad consultation with all of council should be made in an effective manner on matters that rightly should come before appropriate committees on council. It may sound vague, but
Yeah. So
it
that
basically
motion- yeah.
underscores the fact that I believe this matter should have come before the committee and/or all of council before the manner in
Okay,
which it did.
so Mr. McDonald, do you want to take another crack at offering your opinion as to whether trips to, outgoing trips require the calling of the Cultural Exchange Committee and a decision of them to be involved?
Under the current term, through the chair to Councillor Millette and all of council, under the current terms of reference, I would suggest that to accomplish what the motion and the intent of the
Sorry,
motion.
if I can just ask you, because the first question here is whether or not the current policy is being adhered to, because Councillor Millette's suggesting it's not. And so, because the reason why that's an important question, because if your opinion is that it is being adhered to, then the terms of reference should be amended, and that's a notice of motion that would then come in the future, and we'll deal with it. But if your opinion is that the terms of reference are not being adhered to at this time, well, that's a different issue.
Through the chair, I'm suggesting terms of reference as written today are being adhered to, and would suggest that the motion, I would suggest that best course of action for Councillor Millette, in my opinion, I would like to sit down with Councillor Millette and work on that motion to fine tune it to achieve his goals. I think substantive things of that nature, if we could clearly define that, would have a better impact on council moving forward and have more impact, better effect.
And I appreciate the clerk's advice on this matter, and I will accept that it should be brought as a notice of motion. I will, in fact, meet with the clerk while you're away on your trip, and we will get back at the next meeting and serve a notice of motion. But again, this is in no way meant to impugn the importance or the value of this exchange. It's simply my concern about process, and that's solely where it lies. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you. So a couple things, and you know, council meetings are to conduct business for the City of Belleville, and the new business section of our agenda is also for conducting business. You know, we've seen over the last little while, and I just want to clarify because people watching may not understand, we've seen people state incorrect information about our current policies, which are clear and available to all members of council, and they haven't, and recommendations to have a meeting to have a further understanding before we get up and make comments and statements that are incorrect are the reason why those recommendations are being made. But I do think it's important that I give a little bit of background on this at this point so that members of the public are aware of how things developed, because both the question that was made at the last council meeting and Councillor Millette's preamble to his suggested motion today are incorrect and inaccurate. So let's start from the very beginning on this issue. And back in 2019, the new mayor of Lahr, Lord Mayor Marcus Ibert, issued an invitation for me to visit following the retirement of Lord Mayor Mueller, who served for 23 years in that role. And the last time we had a group go from Belleville to Germany was in 2015, and they last visited here in 2017. And typically, the Lahr exchange is of a large group, 30 to 60 individuals, who travel and billet on either end. After returning from Gunpo, South Korea in 2019, in April of 2019, my office began to look at plans for accepting an invitation to Germany. On March the 4th, 2020, we held a meeting with some Belleville residents for a possible September 2020 trip. We discussed activities and the additional recreational vacation that had traditionally been part of that style of trip in the past. 13 days later, the province issued the state of emergency as COVID struck, and we postponed that trip until later in the fall of 2020, and then we had to cancel it altogether. So we stayed in touch with Lord Mayor Ibert and continuously exchanged information about COVID-19 levels in our communities. I received another invitation in late spring, early summer this year. We also had the opening of a new German company in the Northeast Industrial Park, which is corporately headquartered in Germany. This is their first plant in Canada, and they may increase investment, workforce, and productions at this facility in the future. And also, an important factor in this is that 2022 will represent the 50th anniversary of twinning with Lahr, Germany. And, but we will not be able to travel to Germany or have them visit in 2022 as Gunpo, South Korea, and Mayor Han is considering our invitation from 2019 originally issued, postponed to 2020, and now it's postponed to 2022 because of COVID-19. So policies and the terms of reference which cover these issues are included in the Cultural Exchange Committee Terms of Reference, the City of Belleville Travel Policy, which includes members of staff and city councilors, and the procedural bylaw. So we tentatively started working on a possible trip, monitoring public health reports in both countries, the requirements for travel, including testing and vaccination, and topics of potential sites for visiting and learning. Planning a tentative trip and traveling with a traditional large group was simply not feasible. We utilized exactly the same process and manner for Gunpo in 2019 as we are doing with this one, other than in 2019, I made the announcement that the city would be accepting the invitation and travel in my speech at the levee. And that was during non-COVID times. As with the last time, the trip in 2019 to Gunpo, invitations were issued to only 3 members of council because we cannot travel with quorum. As I considered the availability, interest, and fact that some members of council can't fly for medical reasons, I invited both new councillors, Councillors Feeney and Councillors Alsap, as they had not yet had the opportunity to represent the city in this way. And I also invited representatives of the Quinty Economic Development Commission, I invited the police chief, and I invited a media representative, as in 2019 to Gunpo, we had invited Quinty Broadcasting. This time I had issued the invitation to Starboard. Invitations also went to the Chamber of Commerce and the Rotary Club, who considered those, but because of the tentative details and the fact that we could not provide confirmation information at the time that the invitation was sent out, they were declined. Once the chief executive officer of the German company, and we're not able to mention the company's name because they have requested that we not do so until they make the formal announcement. Part of the formal announcement is they are trying to have executive members be present for that. But once the CEO of that company confirmed that he would personally accept our visit in Selters, Germany, we then advanced to finalization of this trip. A group meeting was held just last Tuesday, where we finalized the decision, and the announcement was made the following day. The final itinerary for the Lahr portion of the visit was only received this morning. In addition to the business visit, the focus of this trip is on municipal facilities in Lahr and municipal events. So for example, we have meetings with Lord Mayor Marcus Ibert. We have city tours of Lahr. We are going to be joining the celebrations for the 50th anniversary of the relocation, and I've got to be careful with my pronunciation, Langenwinkel. There will be a private working meeting between myself and Lord Mayor Ibert. Chief Callahan will be meeting with the Deputy Chief of the Lahr Police Department and other members to discuss common issues. There will be an official municipal reception with entry into the Golden Book of the City of Lahr and a group dinner with chairmen of the different parliamentary groups. There will be a tour of wastewater facilities in Lahr. There will be a tour of the airport, the former Canadian Forces Base site, and the redevelopment that has occurred since there. There will be a tour of Landesgartenschau horticultural show terrain. And I'm not sure what that is, but I assume it's got something to do with their very famous chrysanthemum festivals. We will be having lunch with regional mayors, including Mayor Mr. Petters, and he will provide a tour of the urban development and the history of the development of Lahr. There will be a tour of the local history museum, There will be a farewell luncheon with Lord Mayor Marcus Eibert and then departure. And then, of course, we have to make time for mandatory COVID-19 testing to be able to board the Air Canada flight. Public health regulations are similar in that there is no quarantine required on either end of the trip. All travelers are double vaccinated, but certain members are required to have an additional test before entry into Germany. As I said, the travel policy, the cultural exchange policy, and the procedural bylaw are very clear on this, and this is why I encourage people to contact Mr. McDonald or come in and have a meeting with us, rather than get up and make some suggestions that it's not being followed. Again, I've appreciate everyone's indulgence in being able to clear this up.
Point of order, Your Worship.
This is not a matter of
Point of order, Your Worship.
This is not a matter of new business, as we have current policies, and unless a notice of motion comes forward to amend our current policies, it's out of order. Does anyone else have any new business items? Councillor Thompson.
I'm going to speak about the same issue.
Councillor Thompson, unless you have a notice of motion that you want to amend the current policies, it won't be in order.
I don't want to change the current procedure. All I want is to state a couple of facts about the protocol of this particular issue. 2 weeks ago, I stood and asked for a report from the chair of the committee. I was told it was not available yet and it would be released later. 1 week and a couple of days later, it was we got a flash.
So Councillor Thompson, just
no, I'm not finished yet.
Well, you just 1 moment.
No.
You're again misrepresenting what the conversation was at that meeting. You asked for a report from.
Yes, I did.
Just
But
a minute,
it went out.
Councillor Thompson, order. You asked for a report from the committee, to which the committee does not meet to discuss outgoing exchanges. So you were incorrect about that. You then the comment was made that the trip was still tentative and there was no announcement being made at that point yet. That's what you asked, and that's what was replied. Now, I can appreciate that you may not like this, and I think that, as we all know, as we move into the final year of our cycle, we're going to see more and more of this. But, the suggestion I made to you.
Point of order, Your Worship. Now
Councillor Thompson, come to order, please.
Now you're stating it that it's a political thing, and it isn't.
Councillor Thompson, come to order, please.
And the one thing that I want to
Councillor
state
Thompson,
again,
for the third time, come to order, please. The suggestion was for you to come in for a meeting with Mr. McDonald and myself to discuss this, and you declined to do that. And so, again, if you have a notice of motion you wish to introduce, we'll consider it, but we're not going to be discussing this any longer. Anyone else for anything under new business? Councillor Sanderson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just got a few comments about public transit. So we launched Route 9 service on September 7th, and in the first 12 days we had 454 passengers. And just as a reminder for those listening in that the service in Route 9 is fully funded through September of 2022. At our committee meeting this past Thursday, we reviewed the request for information that we solicited on zero-emission buses. And we received responses from 5 different companies or consultants, MTB Transit Solutions, GHD, Alexicon, Wood, and Sista. And each one of them had, varying degrees of information and capability. So at the committee meeting, we discussed that we want to be in a position to evolve our fleet, and the committee passed a recommendation to proceed to the next step, which will come to council for approval. It'll involve partnering with a consultant to scope out the full network of anticipated public transit growth. And standing here today, we already know that we need to look at Potter's Creek, so just as an example. They would also take stock of our existing capital assets and then identify all the requirements that we would have to undertake to be able to migrate to a zero-emission model, and also present the options that might be available for us to consider. And that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else for new business? Councillor Millette, new business.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Now, I sent an email to Chief of Fire and Emergency Services, Monique Belair, giving her a heads up that I would be asking for a staff report. It's been several months, actually January, I believe, of this year, when we revised the burning bylaw to allow backyard burning in the City of Belleville. Since that time, I have received a number of calls and emails from citizens concerned about the nature of backyard burns in their neighborhood. Some of the people who reached out to me have health issues, and through the summer, it's become an actual breathing issue for some. So what I'm requesting, and I will formalize it through the clerk and Chief Belair, is a report to come back to council on the summer season of burning, if you will, how many complaints they fielded, the opinion of perhaps a fire prevention officer, that we may revisit this matter after having input from fire services. Because I don't know about other councillors, but there has been some concern, especially in tighter neighborhoods of the city where people are in the older neighborhoods, the yards are smaller, the houses are closer, and you know, everybody loves a good outdoor fire, but I know in some areas it's been a health issue. So I'm going to be, again, I gave a heads up to the chief. I'll send an email on to the clerk and through the chief, more formal, but I will be seeking that report.
Yeah. And can we include in that the number of permits that have been requested
Exactly,
so
yes,
far?
because there are burn permits required whenever you
burn.
Yeah.
So, because I have a feeling that some of those parts of the city, there are no permits involved with those campfires.
True enough, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else for new business? All right. There are no motions today. Any notice of motions? Seeing none, we'll move to announcements. Anybody have any announcements they'd like to make? Start with Councillor McCaw and work around the table. Go ahead, ma'am.
Thank you. I just want to take a few minutes to bring awareness to the It Takes Heart campaign for the Humane Society of Quinty and Prince Edward. You'll probably see some of us around the table during the first 4 Saturdays in October. Come to a neighborhood near you. We're going to be coming door to door, bringing awareness about the campaign, just so that everybody understands what we're doing with our building campaign for the Humane Society of Hastings and Prince Edward. So don't be alarmed if you see possibly Councillor Kelly at your door. He may be there in all of his loud voice, bringing awareness to our campaign. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Carr.
Thank you, and just to follow up as chair of the library board and separate operating organization, I just wanted to let the public know that we're increasing our hours of operation as of Tuesday, October 12th. The library will be open Monday to Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and Sunday will remain closed. Gallery will be Tuesday to Wednesday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., Thursday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., and Friday and Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., with Sunday and Monday closed. The library is able to expand access to our services, and staffing levels get closer to what they've been prior to the pandemic. Library is exempt under the Reopening Act regulations for general services, so there's no proof of vaccination. However, the library is also planning to a return of indoor programs and events, subject to capacity limits, screening, and proof of vaccination in the coming weeks, and there'll be more information released later this week. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for announcements? Councillor Millette.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to just mention the fact that at your request, Friday evening, I was pleased to bring greetings from the City of Belleville Council on behalf of Council to Dancing with the Stars Reboot 2021. And it was a resounding success. There were a number of people in the theater as per COVID restrictions, several hundred more at home who bought tickets to live stream the event. major fundraiser for Volunteer and Information Quinty. All around, it was great to see people out enjoying themselves, and the dancers were fabulous, so congratulations both to VIQ and all of the dancers for Dancing with the Stars Reboot 2021. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kelly?
Thank you. Through you, Mayor, a couple of things. Good story to share tonight. I was speaking with Carl Egeman and his wife Christina. They're involved with Firefighters Without Borders Canada, and over the last 4 months they were working on negotiating a deal with the old train station in Belleville where Via Rail is, and they just sealed the deal, and Belleville's going to be the storage center for Firefighters Without Borders, and they ship stuff all over Canada and around the world. Could be a fire truck, could be an ambulance, safety stuff that firefighters use. And Carol was telling me that they've served over 1,000 members in Saskatchewan with First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Manitoba and Ontario too. So that's a good news story, and thanks to the Egemans, Christina and Carl, and everybody involved with Firefighters Without Borders, really making a difference for so many, and it's based here in Belleville. And on Thursday, it's National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Belleville will have an event starting at noon at Market Square, and it's an opportunity to reflect, and there's going to be some history, educational component to Belleville's presentation, and over the last 7 weeks I've had a chance to work with the committee made up of 10 Indigenous leaders in our community and from our neighbors as well in Tantanega, and very emotional meetings. The impact of residential schools on generations and our Indigenous families in this area, shared stories at our meetings, and really emotional. So the plan was to have an educational day, and we have made plans on Thursday to work with the Hastings Prince Edward Public School Board. We got a young girl is going to do the Thanksgiving greeting in Mohawk language. She's 8 years old, grade 3 student from Prince Charles. Looking forward to that. Catherine McIver, who is the new Director of Education for the Hastings Prince Edward School Board, will give the land acknowledgement. And 3 Indigenous students from St. Teresa's are going to do a presentation of the orange shirt. They're going to act that out. And we also have music. And to end our afternoon at about 12:45 will be the Chief of the Mohawks of the Bay of Quinty, Chief Ardon Miracle, will be there to speak. So it's been educational. I want to thank Sheila Alexander from the city. She has been a rock through all this. This has been, some would say, a lot of work, but it's been really fulfilling and learning and educational. So I invite everybody in the city to come to Market Square, be there around 12 o'clock as the City of Belleville has our Truth and Reconciliation Day. Also, the bridge in downtown Belleville will be lit up in orange colors for 48 hours. The flag, the Canadian flag, will be flying at half-staff. Thanks to the mayor for that. And a chance to reflect on Thursday. So we hope to see you at noon. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for new business? Councillor Thompson.
Just want to announce that on Wednesday, the 29th at 11 o'clock, there will be a ceremony. Mentos has made a contribution to the city, and they have refreshed the skateboard park. There's been some painting done, some basketball hoops have been installed, and they will be in town. Matter of fact, they're in town today, and the ceremony will start about 10 o'clock Thursday morning or Wednesday morning, the 29th, and the ribbon cutting is at 11. I invite all skateboarders and bikers. We've included Councillor Alsop in some of the talks. Mr. Reed's been involved. Roland Cave, Brown Cave, been involved. So I ask you to come out, celebrate, and the public is more than welcome to come out. You know, there will be restrictions if there's too many there, but we invite you to come out. It's a great project. And we've had talks with the Kiwanis Club, who was a big sponsor of it, and the churches. So we're looking forward to a nice design. I think it's great, and I'm looking forward to being there, and I ask you all to show up.
Okay, thank you very much. I have some proclamations and a few announcements. So I want to proclaim September 30th as the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation in the City of Belleville. By sharing the stories of residential school survivors, their families, and their communities, we bring justice to this issue. In honor of this day, the Bridge Street Bridge and the Belleville sign will be lit orange on September 30th. The City Hall flag will fly at half staff, and an orange Every Child Matters flag will be flown at the Quinty Sports and Wellness Center. Additionally, Belleville's Equity, Diversion, and Inclusion Committee are hosting an event in Market Square on September 30th to mark this important day. I'd also like to proclaim October as Rett Syndrome Awareness Month. I encourage and urge all citizens to make an effort this month to learn more about Rett syndrome, to fight stigma, and light Canada Purple to show their support. I also would like to proclaim October as Dress Purple Month. That was formerly known as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Now it's Dress Purple Month, to raise awareness about the important role that individuals and communities play in supporting vulnerable children, youth, and families. Please keep an eye out for purple ribbons throughout our downtown in support of this important issue. October is also National Disability Employment Awareness Month to promote disability inclusion in employment across Ontario. This national campaign is run by the Ontario Disability Employment Network. I would also like to proclaim October as It Takes Heart, Humane Society, Hastings and Prince Edward Month. This campaign is meant to bring awareness about the the Humane Society, Hastings Prince Edward, and the work they do to protect and care for animals, and specifically to promote the campaign to match the $50,000 donation by the owners of 2 special Labradors named Samson and Jasper. I got to make sure I pronounce this properly for former Councillor Pat Culhane. October 7th is International Trigeminal Neuralgia Day. I'm not so sure how well I did, but she practiced a lot of times with me, and I still have a difficult time with that. This initiative is meant to bring light and awareness, to grant access to further resources, and to create opportunities for funding research for trigeminal neuralgia and facial pain disorders. What an incredible weekend Mark Rashad and Empire Square had for us last weekend here in Belleville. Not this past weekend, the weekend before. September the 17th and 18th, there were 2 outdoor concerts. It was great to be back listening to live music again in that format. The Saturday night, the City of Belleville was a sponsor of that concert. With the assistance of us and many of the others, they were able to raise $35,000 for women's shelters in our region. All You Need Is Love, which was the band that played on Saturday night. It was their last show. They went out the way they came in. Their first show ever 22 years ago was designed to be a fundraiser for women's shelters, and they went out and they raised hundreds of thousands of dollars in that time in between. We thank everybody. It was a great weekend, and I thank not just the Empire but the community for supporting that event. On September the 15th, I was pleased to help kick off the 2021 United Way campaign at their official launch event. And I was happy to be joined by Councillors Feeney, Sanderson, and Thompson. The City of Belleville wishes the United Way a successful campaign this year as they raise money for those important organizations. September the 18th marked a special day for the City of Belleville. It was the long-awaited official grand opening of the new Belleville Police Facility at 459 Sydney Street. What a wonderful day and what a wonderful event. And I want to congratulate Police Chief Mike Callahan and his entire team at the Belleville Police Service. I also want to thank everyone who was able to attend. It was great to have so many former chiefs, former mayors, and former Belleville Police Service board members join all of the current ones. Thanks to all who planned that day, and also Mother Nature for giving us exceptional weather. And I do want to just also say how nice it was to see the retirees, people who are no longer working for the Belleville Police Service, but worked in that previous building. And the fact they were able to come and to see this new facility and get tours was a real special treat. And I thank everyone involved. September the 19th was a very busy day at Zwick's Park. I visited both the Kiwanis Kite Festival at East Zwick's and the Lions Club concert at West Zwick's. They were both fantastic family outdoor events that we are lucky to have here in Belleville. Thank you to everyone who was involved in that. On September the 21st, I joined the Dr. James Bertram Call-Up Committee at the future home of the Call-Up Monument and Reflection Garden along the Bayshore Trail to accept a donation of over $50,000 in support of this important project. The official unveiling of this monument is taking place Saturday, October 16th at 11 a.m. All those interested are welcome to attend. Community Living Belleville and area celebrated their 70th anniversary on September 23rd. Thank you so much to Community Living for inviting me to represent the City of Belleville at your celebration, and thank you for everything you do to support our community. Last Friday, September 24th, myself, Councillors Mollette and Sandison, and several city staff were honored to host a visit from the Minister of Transportation for the Province of Ontario, the Honourable Caroline Mulrooney. City representatives provided Minister Mulrooney with a tour of the city, and we discussed the future ministry plans for the City of Belleville as it comes to the Belleville East Arterial Road. I want to thank the Engineering and Development Services Department and as well as Belleville Transit for assisting with the transportation. The 2021 Dancing with the Stars Quinty in support of volunteer information Quinny took place this past Friday night at the Empire Theatre. I want to thank the VIQ for including me, and congratulations to all participants for such a great night. I arrived at 7 o'clock thinking that was when I would be participating, and then I was told that it would be 9 o'clock. And I'm grateful that Councillor Mollette agreed to stay around for that, and then to offer greetings on behalf of myself and City Council in the City of Belleville. This past weekend, I was honored to attend two exciting events as well. The Rotary Club's 12th annual Porch Fest took place on Saturday, which is always a wonderful, fun-filled day, but what an incredible day we had this year. I don't recall seeing so many people attending Porch Fest events since it started, and I want to thank the Rotary Club of Belleville, and in particular Rosie Ouellette, but mostly Sam Brady, for their leadership on this. You know, the city is so proud of this activity, and on a day that the weather was so nice, it really showed what a wonderful community we have to be able to get together and celebrate the arts and live music, and congratulations to everyone involved. Also on that day, I was also pleased to visit Branch 99 of the Royal Canadian Legion for the occasion of their annual honors and awards presentations, and I thank Councillor Sandison for joining me. What a wonderful day to recognize not just length of service for members of the Legion, but also to recognize the award recipients for Legionnaire of the Year and Volunteer of the Year and others. On a sad note, I regretfully announce the passing of Mr. Sid Spiegel. Sidney Spiegel made his start here in Belleville, where he founded Crawford Steel in 1944, starting off as a small scrapyard at that time. Over the next nearly 80 years, he used intelligence, forward thinking, and an entrepreneurial spirit to build a business empire. Sid went on to become many things, including co-owner of the Montreal Alouettes, and Crawford Steel now includes 17 distribution centers throughout North America. He lived his last years in Toronto with his wife Naomi, his children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren. This sad news of Mr. Spiegel's death was followed just 6 short weeks later by the passing of Naomi Spiegel. She was also an important person and matriarch of that family, and she was an important person for us here in Belleville. We extend condolences to the entire Spiegel family. And on September the 22nd, the City of Belleville was pleased to unveil the memorial bench for Larry Tillender. Larry Tillender was the security guard who was patrolling the Myers Pier earlier this year and was tragically struck and killed by a vehicle. The bench is there to serve as a reminder of Larry and his big impact on life, and also to ensure that we have an opportunity to go back there, sit down, take a quiet moment, and remember that very, very great person. Item number 14 on the agenda, confirmatory bylaw. I need a motion that bylaw number 2021-169, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on September 27, 2021, be read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed this 27th day of September 2021. Moved by Councillor Alsap, seconded by Councillor Feeney. All in favor, it's carried. Before I call for a motion to adjourn, Mr. McDonald, I wonder if I can ask you to distribute to all members of council copies of the Cultural Exchange Committee Terms of Reference, as well as the City of Belleville travel policy. Now, I know I have suggested that to members of council that they look into it, some of them, and comments today, show that perhaps the information will be helpful for people to have a better understanding. I continue to be available to all members of council for a meeting to discuss this and any other item, so that we can have conversations and motions and discussions that are based on the facts. That's part of my collaborative style. That's the part that I can control, and I've never turned down a meeting from a member of council to come and discuss it, and I've also brought staff when requested. So I wonder if you can distribute that, please, sir, and I appreciate it. With that, I'll call for a motion to adjourn, moved by Councillor Feeney, seconded by Councillor Alsop. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We'll see you on October the 12th.